All right, welcome back to another episode of Dried Blood, the last episode of Season 2. We just finished out the round number 3 of the Battle for the Crown. The Grandmaster is victorious with a score of 4 to the Arbiter's 2. Grandmaster, how do you feel about the win?
I am ecstatic. A little worried for a hot second. I won't lie, because that could have tied up pretty quickly. But I will say, I'm going to share this. After the stream, we did do a roll-off just in case to see how we would do. And what was it that you rolled?
A 3.
Ah, yes, a 3.
What did you roll?
Okay, well, it was a 4, but it was higher than what you did. And I would have won then.
Yeah, fair enough. So either way, even if it come down to a tie, the Grandmaster would have won anyways. But this was a crazy adventure through these 2v2s. It was a little chaotic and as GMs very difficult to balance, honestly, because PvP is not D&D is not really made for PvP.
Yeah, let me take off my crown for a second. Let me take off my Grandmaster role if we're gonna hop into a GM. Not a GM, yeah, a DM role. Let's talk about this, because I mean, we've always told people it's an unfair fight. Like it is. It's not going to go the way you think. We're going to make calls that are ridiculous or counter to the rules, and that can make things either frustrating or very exciting, depending on the flexibility and the willingness of the players.
Yeah, absolutely. We had we didn't talk after last battle, but we had it was. Who was it? Round number 2 was Silky Slim and the Baron versus Cosmonius and Locket. We didn't talk about that one, but that was a crazy matchup.
It's insane.
Probably the most even of the 2 matchups we've had, honestly, because both other matchups were kind of back and forth. But Cosmonius and Locket got 75% of the vote, and I thought it was going to be closer. The Silky Slim and the Baron put out a really good showing of, like, they were really good, fun characters. Not that Cosmonius and Locket weren't, because they had their good big moments too. But
they were both
teams very good.
I think what it came down to was perhaps there was one moment that people were thinking of, like, that's what made me laugh the most. Like, I'll be honest, for me, the last death, hearing Pesci just describe this worm and then Robert Hartley going, ew, is still one of my favorite moments of even the season. Like, I think of that and I think that's the energy. I love that.
Yeah, that was a good moment. Honestly, that whole death scene was really, really good. Just Pesh is super creative as a person. The first time he died as the Baron, he came out of a shark. So as a clone spell, so he's a super creative player, and just so that was really fun.
But I think that kind of speaks how well all of the champions have been in here, right? Because we tell them there's a chance you're going to die, and it's not the focus of it. Like, if you die, that really isn't the part that matters, right?
Yeah.
The part, and for all of us who play D&D, like, unfortunately, even when we get attached to them, like, that is going to happen. But what kind of story? How are you making these characters live to their fullest, to push themselves to extreme and to think creatively? Like, how do they tell a story that is unique and fun and makes it enjoyable, of course, not only to the acolytes, but to themselves, most importantly?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of good folks on, and the whole season has just kind of been packed with people that are just really good, and I think we've done a lot of cool things this season that we built on from season 1. The Gauntlet is probably one of my favorite episodes of this season.
I will be building another Gauntlet map.
Gauntlets are very fun. I think those will continue in the future. These 2v2s were fun. I think it's going to be a challenge for us moving forward and to kind of find our own, homebrew rules, what we like, what we don't like for the 2v2s.
And 2v2s are always harder.
Yes.
Like, one, on time purposes, like, we want to be respectful of everyone's time. But on top of it, like, what rules do you allow? Like, we had, of course, our death savings where we said there's 1 per team. Pick and choose who you think needs to have it. What's your strategy behind it? And of course, then also, how much do we encourage players to talk beforehand to make strategies? Like, okay, if you're going to build this character, I'm going to build this character, so that way we balance each other, or we can, there's a lot of opportunities still for this to grow and evolve and change. And we have to keep that in mind as more if we continue to bring in more 2v2s.
Yeah, and I think this was actually the first time. So, just for a little bit of background lore for all of you acolytes at home, Thornabub, the Death Wards were cast at the beginning of the match. This was something he had contacted me about before this week, and it was actually the first time anybody had ever asked me to do something as like a prep spell. So he said, "Hey, can I use 2 of my 4th level spell slots to cast these Death Wards?" I said, yeah, and it ended up, because of the situation, he also used the hero point to amplify those. So instead of 1 HP, they each got a little bit more back, because he used that hero point, and because of the RP of like throwing him in the box and stuff. It was just kind of cool. So it kind of gave us that second wind of the fight, that little twist there.
It was so smart.
Yeah. So he planned that. That was totally planned on his part. So that was awesome.
I'd love to see more of that, because I know so much, like, it's a one shot. And so when any of us, like, even when I play and doing one shots, I think of like what's happening here, but pulling in backstory of like, what was I doing before, even like right before, 5 minutes before, casting something like that can be really smart, and something that we don't even think of asking, because it's a one shot. Like, we just have to get into it. But that was a really good thought from Glorious George to do.
Yeah, and they just, I think, everyone just did great tonight. It's always good having Tej around, because he's just funny, and Flinnery's a fun character. Don't worry, it's probably not the last of Flinnery. For anybody who's at home worried about it, we might see him again someday, somehow. But
and bonus stage Rob also did a great job. Just his character kept pushing. He had a great spirit about it. I've said this before, right? When the roles don't go your way, it really allows us to be emotionally connected and expressive. And I think he did a great job of that. Like, I felt that frustration. And that's also why I want to be like, please, I want you to do something like that you can live, because he was playing that character so well. It was fantastic. My heartstrings were pulled.
Yeah, he handled the ones like a champ. It's always tough. It's not as fun when you're doing poorly, but it's kind of like, as we've seen other places and here, is, it's the people that can still play the game and play the character and realize that, the combat's not the only part of this game, which is something that we, kind of like to show, is even though we're doing combat, there's RP, there's ways to handle it that can make it fun or enjoyable. So props to him for being a good sport about it, even though he was not rolling hot tonight. And, that's what happens. And
everyone can empathize with that. We've all been there, where it's like, why?
It's
though I do want to note a trend that my teams, all 3, really had a knack for rolling hot for a while.
Yeah, your teams the first 2 weeks, I gotta be honest, I didn't expect the first 2 weeks to go that way towards your teams. I thought that the matchups were gonna be a little bit closer, but just kind of the luck of the draw with chaos events, with random spawns, with the way initiative works, starting at different times, and the makeup of the characters. It's it's a
and
little
even
bit
us.
Yeah.
Us, as we learn and how we evolve and choose to respond to certain things, especially when we pull things out of the box of chaos. So many of them, because there's too many items. Yes. We're talking about thousands of items. We obviously don't know all of them. And so it's a learning experience for us to figure out, like, oh, what is this? Okay, that seems cool. What is the extent in which this can do bad things?
Yeah, in hindsight, the Horn of Valhalla, probably not super balanced for a deathmatch. Looking back on it. But, that's okay. It's part of GMing. You make mistakes. And, yes. I consider that a mistake. Obviously it kind of skewed the battle one way. I mean, it was still a fun battle, still part of the story. It was, kind of chaotic and random, and that's just kind of what happened. But, if I were to do it again, I wouldn't have done it again, because obviously I consider that a mistake. I kind of broke the balance of the action economy there.
Well, and we're learning. That's part of it,
right,
where we think, like, what are the consequences that can come from this? And that's something that I think most of us understand, especially if you sat behind the DM seat before, where you go, oh no, I have made a mistake. How do I undo this mistake that I have done?
What's a good way to kill 5 berserkers at one time?
Yeah. Yeah. But But that kind of shows, and I hope that breaks up some of the infallibility that we see DMs doing, that we do make mistakes, and it's always a process where you take it in stride, you learn, and we improve. And that's what I also love about D20 Deathmatch is that each episode, I feel like we've gotten better. Like if we look at season 1, episode 1, very different.
Yes, very different.
So my makeup was still pretty on point, I'd say.
It's definitely been a learning process, and I feel like we've getting better, and we're, as we've met more folks in the community who we either didn't know or hadn't played with before, that we're also finding more and more talented people as we go along, which I think just adds to our quality as, we get introduced to more people, of different backgrounds and different play styles, and, people that are chaotic and not chaotic. It kind of forces us to be better as DMs, as showrunners, as trying to make sure it's fun for them, but fun for the audience, and still, again, this is not a fair fight. We'll never tell you it is. So, but it still needs to be balanced.
Challenge us. Yeah. And I want to say, and this is also important from a DM's perspective, how much it has challenged us to encourage and set the best stage for the players themselves. Like, how do we prepare them and get them set in the right mindset of how they're approaching this? Because that makes a big difference if you get frustrated in the game or not. If you understand the things that are going on, there's a lot that goes behind it. So it's been good for us. And we've had such an amazing array of talent starting from season 1. I'm so grateful for all of the amazing individuals who have come on this show. I'm excited that we'll get to see faces again. And also, and that's the best part of D20 is that we continue to get to reach out and meet new people and learn new things and push our own style a lot more out of it.
Yep. Well, kind of to move us towards wrapping up here.
I'm a talker, sorry.
No, you're good. A few things just to point out, or just to kind of let you guys know if you're watching this. So just thanks for watching on the YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. But next season will be starting July 24th, 2022. In case you're watching this in the future, but July 24th. So we'll be off for a couple of months. In that time, we're gonna prep some new stuff, get some new champions ready. Maybe look at some new types of events. I know we're planning some new one-shots in addition to the one-shots, the Fate of the Arbiter one-shots we've been running. Gonna expand the lore a little bit, so you can look forward to some more different one-shots within our world, and then maybe even a few little small campaigns or one-shots in other worlds or other game systems even. So we got a few things for you guys to stay tuned for. So that's all I got to say. Anything else for you, Grandmaster?
Yes, thank you for watching here and on Twitch or wherever you're taking in our content. Thank you so much. Mudcat and I have put a ton into this, and to see people responding to it is so exciting. And we hope that you'll all join us for season 3.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys in season 3 of D20 Deathmatch.